Hello guys, welcome back to another episode here on African Confessions. There is a message that I want to share with you guys, and this message, it was forwarded to me by one of our admins, and the message reads like this. Hello brother Nashi, please post for me as hidden identity. My brother, I have a confession to make, and my story goes like this. When I was still a young woman, I think at the age of 23, that is when I met this other guy whom I dated, and I am even afraid to mention his name for security reasons, because this guy, he is like ultra rich. But at that time when I started dating him, he was wealthy. You could see that this guy, he has a lot of money, but now he is like 4 times the amount of wealth he had when I dated him, somewhere around 2012 to 2013. At that time when I started dating that guy, even though he was older than I was, it was all because of money. At that time, I was dating my own boyfriend, who is the father of my child. I only have one child. And ever since I dated that older man, I then struggled to have another child. I have met other guys whom I thought I would eventually get married to. But as beautiful as I am, the moment that I start to date another guy, then the guy will just change his attitude towards me. So the way that I met this guy, I was working at this other hair salon. So one day on my way going back home, that is when I met that older guy that I ended up dating. So this guy, he asked me where I was going, and I told him where I was going because I was walking to the taxi rank, and this guy, he was walking out of a supermarket. When he was walking to his car, then he stopped me, and when I looked at him and when I looked at his car, I was really impressed because I had that habit of ignoring men that tried to approach me. But when I looked at the way that he was dressed, he really looked like he was a nice guy. And when I looked at his car after he had offered me a lift, I could not resist. I got into his car. At first, when he spoke with me, I remained quiet because I was trying to make sense of the situation, because deep down in my heart, it felt as if I was falling for him, but I didn't want to fall for a stranger, just a random stranger. As we were traveling, I told him my name. He drove slowly towards the direction of my place. While we were on our way, he started asking me out if I can be his girlfriend. But what disturbed me is that I saw that on his finger he had a wedding ring, and when I asked him about the wedding ring, he said it didn't matter. All that he wanted was for me to accept his proposal. At first, I did not agree, but deep down in my heart, with the comfort that I was feeling as we were busy driving in his car, I had already deeply fallen in love with him. And I thought that this guy, I was going to snatch him away, because at that time I was still so young, and he kept on telling me that with the way that I was young, if I was going to fall for him, he would make sure that he would take care of me like no man had ever done before. And this really excited me because my boyfriend, he was unemployed and he didn't have any plan for me. All that he knew was to make love to me. And when I looked at this older guy, he was very rich. He kept on asking me out until we got to my place. I didn't want to show him that I was all excited about him, and I had already fallen for him. So what I did, I just gave him my number, which all of the girls know that once you have given a man your number, then it means that you are into him. So since the day that he dropped me off at my place, we started talking and making appointments. We would meet at certain restaurants. Then he is the first man whom I ever went with to this other hotel. This man was really romantic, but he told me that I should know that I can't replace his wife, and he told me that all of his wealth that he had acquired. It was his wife who had helped him, and he told me that in his blood he felt that he needed a second unofficial wife. I agreed because the man had a lot of money. Even me going to work, it didn't even count anymore because he had paid for my working stations months in advance. As someone who had struggled in my previous relationships, I was grateful to be his unofficial second wife, and I vowed to him that I'll never cheat on him. I even dumped my baby daddy because I saw that he didn't even offered me any assistance at all, even though it was painful, because at the time when I was dating that older guy, most of the times I was always alone, feeling very lonely, and sometimes I will get on Facebook and I'll see that he will be online, but I was not allowed to contact him at night. Yes, the money was there. He gave me a lot of money, but we could not sleep together throughout the night. He could not spend a night at my place because he said that he didn't want to disappoint his wife. All along, I thought that maybe his wife had done something to him. And whenever I would ask him about his wife, he kept on promising me that one day I'll become his official wife. My friends at work, when they found out that his wife was not a South African, they warned me against dating this man, but I was too deep in love and it was now too late for me to back down. So I kept on dating that man. Me and that older guy, we dated for a couple of years, but I tried to fall pregnant for him, but I failed since I was so desperate to have a child for this man. I then asked this other lady who was new in our location, but there was something particular about that lady because I always saw her wearing those white garments. So I went to that Zim woman and I spoke with her. Then she told me that when I will be free, she will go with me to her white garment church. One day when I was free, me and that woman, we went to her church. When I was there, that is when I asked for me to be prayed upon. And as that guy was praying for me, I then told him that I wanted to fall pregnant for my husband. The man who was praying for me then said, "Why have you chosen to lie that this man is your husband? Because I can see that he is not your husband." So I kept quiet. I felt like a thief who had been caught, but I just remained quiet. He then asked me if I was not afraid of death. Then I said no. He then told me all of the items which I had to buy, but after church I had forgotten everything. But lucky enough, that lady who had taken me to her church, she remembered everything. So I bought all of those items that I needed in order for me to fall pregnant for my boyfriend. And I was told that when I was on my period, that is when I was supposed to go to that prophet's house. So I waited until I had seen my period. When I saw that I was on my period, I went to that prophet's house and he had asked me to buy lemons, fresh milk, and a lot of bananas. Then he prepared a sort of some porridge for me and he mixed the lemons, the fresh milk, the bananas, and the honey. And that thing, my brother, it was really sour that it made me to vomit and it gave me diarrhea. As I was running up and down to the toilet, that prophet told me that it means that the prayers were cleaning my system. He said that the reason why I couldn't fall pregnant for my boyfriend, it was because that family planning had blocked my system for a very long time. I paid him the money that he wanted. When I left, he asked me again if I was not afraid to die. I asked him why he kept on asking me that question. He said that since I have insisted on falling pregnant for that man, he didn't want to get involved. I went back home and life continued. After 1 month, I fell pregnant. After I had fallen pregnant for my boyfriend, I don't want to tell him yet because I was afraid that maybe if I tell him when I am still 1 month pregnant, he will force me to have an abortion. So I waited and I kept on getting fat until he realized that I was pregnant for him. By the time that he found out that I was pregnant, I was already 4 months pregnant. So when you are pregnant, your hormones will affect you in such a strange way. So one day I told him that I wanted to meet his wife, and he changed the moment that I told him that I wanted to meet his wife and become his official wife, because I was shouting at him and I was holding his phone at that time. Since I knew his password, I told him that I was going to contact his wife and tell his wife that I was pregnant for him. That man, he instantly became like a dangerous animal. Then he started punching me everywhere until blood came, and I realized that I had a miscarriage. I just got out of the house and I went to the hospital all by myself so that they can help me with the miscarriage, since the baby had already developed. After I had gone to the hospital and recovered, I saw that the man was now ignoring me. I desperately went to that prophet who had helped me to fall pregnant, and he said to me that I was like a lamb that was being led to the slaughter. The time that I had fallen pregnant and that time that I had a miscarriage, he told me that the man that I was dating and his wife, they knew everything that was happening. And those people had came to him and threatened him that he should stop helping me. That is why at that time he told me that he didn't want to get involved in this story anymore. And he told me that these people, they have a black pot that they keep in their bedroom, and that black pot is the one which gives them wealth. And this man, he uses some of his girlfriend's blood to feed his pot. And that man told me that when I had a miscarriage, my baby did not die as such, but my baby was placed inside that pot until it had fully developed, and my baby was used for their rituals. At that time, this whole thing, it seemed so complicated to me because it happened somewhere around 2012. But now, listening to the stories, even though at that time I was just a young woman, now it makes me to remember my own story. With all the things that I can remember, I still remember that man telling me that he has a child who was born with a disability. But the story that he told me was that when he had this child, he didn't have this child with his wife, but he had this child with another woman. After that woman had given birth, according to him, he said that the woman said that the baby, since it had been born with a disability, it was too much of a responsibility for him. So that man said that him and his wife were responsible for taking care of that child that had a disability. But that prophet told me that they were using that disabled child for their businesses. I wish that one day I will find out what they did with the child that they stole from my womb. Yo, dear listeners, right there was a message that we received via our email address. Strange things do happen in this world. If you have any story that you want to share with us, please do not hesitate to contact us via our email address.